It's a geopolitical power, just because of its sheer size, because of its geographical location, because of its military capabilities, but it's also geopolitical power because of its population, its talent, its relations, its potential, and also the economic dimension, the dynamic economy and technological advancement, which is really important to the world, important for Europe, and including important for a country like the Netherlands. In the field of security interest, for us, it is important to relate to China. As you may know, we are one of the key and founding member states of the EU and also of NATO. So for the European Union and for the Transatlantic Alliance, it is for us as a member state, it's very important to reach out to the further world, also because we see as a European country that the point of gravity of the world is shifting. It's shifting slightly south to the global south, but it's definitely shifting also towards more towards the east on the global map, and there India is of course a very crucial country in this regard. So we share security interests, especially in this changing world. We share that, for example, when it's about the crucial role India plays in the Indo-Pacific region, in cherishing the freedom of navigation and the application of the international law of the sea. Those kind of matters are very important, and it's that is typically a topic of discussion, a topic that we also try to fill in practically by regularly having maritime presence also in the Indo-Pacific, as the Netherlands, as a small country maybe, but a country that's very much dependent on international trade and a trade hub with Rotterdam Harbour, for example. India's significant economic growth plays a role for us, of course, soon to be the third global economy. That represents a lot of opportunities, and there we have a lot to offer to each other. And that goes in various fields. Think of water technology, where we have ample experience. Think of agriculture and food security is a very important topic, where the Netherlands also has high technology. And think of health and healthcare and the technology in that field. And think of innovation in general, where the Netherlands is number 7 in the world ranking as a country of innovation. And when I say innovation, it is also about critical emerging technologies. Think of the AI value chain and the importance of semicon and the machinery, lithography machinery production that you see in the Netherlands. Companies such as ASML, ASM, NXP, Philips, and so on are all very important in this field of the new technologies, the emerging technologies, and sometimes already have production here. Are working on an MOU to enhance this relationship, and a lot of things happen in the field I could relate to. I could elaborate on that later. So there's an ambition also to keep working together and to build a strategic partnership between the Netherlands and India. We'll work that out. That's ultimately to then be concluded also by the prime ministers, and please be assured that we'll have a lot of interest also from our government side to be here and to connect to India and invite Indian ministers to the Netherlands. We recently had our defense minister here. I'm here now. We'll have later this year probably our foreign trade minister with an economic delegation, and these things are definitely important also in the bilateral relationship and the relationship between India and the European Union as a whole. Lastly, maybe from that side as an introduction, I think there are very important people-to-people contacts. The largest Indian community in the European Union happens to be in the Netherlands, and that's a very active community. You can celebrate Diwali in Amstelveen, which is a suburb of Amsterdam. You can play cricket in Eindhoven. There are lots of things that connect India to the Netherlands in a very practical sense and people to contact. There are many students, I don't know exactly how many, but there are many Indian students in the Netherlands. There are many Indians who work, especially in the high-tech sector, also in the Netherlands as engineers, and they are welcome. So there are lots of practical steps and practical relationships, people-to-people contacts. And I do meet Indian officials, and I've met Indian officials also told me in the past, oh, my brother is living in the Netherlands, my sister is living in the Netherlands, working in science and technology, for example. So there's a lot that we have to offer, not only as countries to each other, but also as nations, as peoples to people. So that's what I wanted to say as an introduction. Maybe you have some questions.
So we can go on with the questions. I believe some of you have a question. If you raise your hand, my colleague will give you a microphone.
Who wants to go first?
Minister, you're here just ahead of a major announcement expected from Washington for tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, which are going to affect both the European Union and India as well. I want to ask you, firstly, if you think India and the EU can cooperate in any way to develop countermeasures to these kind of unilateral actions by the United States. But more importantly, India and the US are in the midst of a negotiation on the bilateral trade agreement. They're hoping to have a resolution by the end of the year. And in that, there will be tariff waivers as well as market access given to the US. Is the EU expecting that they will be given the same kind of considerations that the US is now getting, particularly when it comes to market access for agricultural products, which I think is of importance to the Netherlands?
I don't know exactly what the answer is in the sense that I'm not the foreign trade minister, but I can tell you that when you look at tariffs, that the EU, in the EU that's organized, of course, very much at the EU's level, at the Brussels level, Commissioner Šefčovič being responsible for this, and that there will always to American tariffs be a unitary, a proportional, and a robust response. That being said, I think it's important to compare notes between EU member states and India on these matters which affect all of us. We as a country, you won't be surprised, in the Netherlands as a trade country and a trade hub, we believe that trade and international trade is important and contributes to the prosperity of our nations, and tariffs infringe on that, and that those tariffs will in the end not be beneficiary for the American consumer. That the inflationary pressure that those tariffs bring will definitely be there in the U.S. economy. I see that the U.S. tells us, of course, that they see challenges in their foreign trade relations, including foreign trade deficits. We of course want to discuss to address those. But imposing tariffs and new tariffs is not the most productive way in that regard. Then India and its free trade agreement with the US, I think it's important to see to what extent India can come to agreements, not only with the US but also with the UK and definitely also with the European Union. I think that is important, and I can assure you that the European Union and countries such as the Netherlands will be trusted and reliable partners, predictable partners for India in this regard.
Thank you. Next question.
Minister, Netherlands has one of the best advanced semiconductor industry. You look at fab, which is very precise in terms of and very thin in terms of technical parameters. Has there been any discussion or yesterday on Indian Netherlands semiconductor mission? I mean, you want to set up, help India set up any fab here, or Dutch is setting up any fab unit in India?
I can't go into all the details here. Maybe otherwise the ambassador can fill me in. What I do see is that there's a lot of cooperation already taking place between the Netherlands and India in this regard, and I do see the ambition of also the Indian government to make India into this global semicon hub, and the cooperation in this field is more than just opportunities for trade. It's also for us, India is also a safe space for production of semiconductors, and a country with opportunities also geoeconomically speaking. And we look forward to signing a memorandum of understanding on semiconductors and critical technology later this year. That will focus on trade, on research and development cooperation, on mobility, on workforce development, etc. What we already see is that a lot is taking place in the sense that we had a first Indo-Dutch Semicon school last December, which was set up with 3 universities from the Netherlands and 4 from India, participation from NXP, ASML, Dutch companies, and Tata from the Indian side, and the intention is to further expand that. We see that a Semicon opportunity report was produced by the Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association last March, so last month, and we see that a very interesting brain bridge, what is called the brain bridge program between leading universities from the Netherlands and India to promote research cooperation, mobility of researchers and talent. And I hope that that is brought forward via a memorandum of understanding, and then we're still looking into the opportunities, what would be the good opportunities to get that signed, and when can we finalize that. So we want to tap into that ambition that the Indian government has about India developing into a worldwide semicon hub. We are in some ways already a semicon hub because of Dutch companies being very important in the semicon value chain, especially the production of advanced and legacy lithography machines. And that is an important issue. When I meet the Chinese foreign minister or the American Secretary of State, they really talk about this aspect. It is geoeconomically, geostrategically seen advanced technology, where the Dutch companies are very advanced and almost without competition in the world at this moment.
Thank you. Next question, I think, is over there.
Thank you, Minister, for having this. So both India and Netherlands have been talking about cooperation in Indo-Pacific, and you have been holding negotiations on what kind of practical cooperation that you're looking at in the Indo-Pacific. In your opening remarks, you also mentioned about the China factor while talking about security. So how do you see Chinese increasing military muscle taxing in the Indo-Pacific? They're going to meet the NSA recently, so what kind of discussion you are looking at with the NSA?
Yeah, I could say that for us it's slightly broader than only the cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. I think we are at this moment, when you look at the global situation, we are in this changing geopolitical situation in the world, also because of a new US administration and the way it wants to relate to other countries. We see the rise of China with its opportunities and risks. And what you increasingly see from Europe and from the European side is that we want to work with India as a geopolitical partner in this reliable and trusted and predictable way, where we can find each other in these developments. That's where the Indo-Pacific comes in for us. When you look at this moment in Europe, we're very much preoccupied with with the continuing Russian war of aggression on Ukraine. And we are very preoccupied also with the American-Russian negotiations to end this war. We support the idea of ending this war diplomatically, but we of course want to see that is done in a way that is not only just but also has positive rather than negative consequences for the European security as a whole. This is very important because this war not only is an unjust war in the sense that it violates the UN Charter and international law and all the principles of international law, but it's also a war that directly affects our security and the European security architecture. So the way this war ends will affect European security and its architecture for years, if not decades to come. What you at this moment see that European countries and European leaders are scrambling to get together to see how we can contribute regarding security assistance for Ukraine when a ceasefire and after a peace deal has been made. And you see European countries scrambling also and getting together to increase their defense spending. We all know that NATO has this defense investment pledge of 2% of GDP to be spent on defense. Of all the NATO countries, the 32 NATO allies, 9 countries are still not meeting that target, but the pressure is increasing on them to get there soon. We'll see that a NATO summit will take place in the Netherlands, in The Hague, at the end of June. That will be, I think, the most important NATO summit NATO has ever seen. We are discussing now in NATO what the new and adapted defense investment pledge will be and to what percentage we will raise this target. So it will definitely be higher than 2%, and what time path will be connected to that. I mention this because it's very important to see that Europe is getting together now. You see European leaders meeting about every other week, either in London or in Paris, but you also see it with high civil servant in the diplomatic sphere, high diplomats and chiefs of defense meeting regularly to look into these matters of how to assist Ukraine currently, so that it's not with a knife at its throat while negotiations about Ukraine are taking place. How to continue the sanctions pressure on Russia, and we see that the sanctions pressure after 16 EU sanctions packages has an impact on Russia. You see the cracks in the Russian economy. We see a base interest rate there of 21%, for example. We see relatively high inflation. We see investments not taking place. So you really see an effect of the war effort and the sanctions pressure on the Russian economy. And it's important for us to get together and to see what kind of, how we can strengthen our security and our military effort in Europe. So that is maybe for you something which is far away, but for us this connects to what Europe is in the world. If we get to a more multipolar order in the world, Europe wants to be and needs to be one of the poles. And I think that could be beneficial for India in its outlook, also in the Indo-Pacific. You see European countries also understanding that the point of gravity in the world is shifting, and that the Indo-Pacific is a very important region in this regard, and India being a key country there. So you see increased naval exercises, for example, with India. You see increased cooperation and ambition on cooperation between the militaries, but also defense industries. And it's not a coincidence that also from the Netherlands our Minister of Defense was here last month.
Yes, please, let me give you the floor and give maybe a bit of your first impressions of your visit.
Yeah, well, thank you all for being here. It's good to be here in India. I had a very valuable meeting with my esteemed colleague, C.J. Shankar, whom I had met earlier in New York and at the G20 in South Africa, but now also here in his home.